The Hitting Zone novel Chapter 1 to Chapter 25. Please subscribe to the channel to support the team, thank you guys. The sun was painting a pretty sunset in the Southern California area tonight. All pinks, oranges, reds blending together as the sun tried to disappear behind some hills. I don't like sunsets. Not one bit. It always meant that it's time for me to go back to the house. A house that wasn't a home. Never was and probably never will be. I parked my bike beside the one-story building and snuck in through the back door trying to make as little noise as possible. Less noise usually meant less trouble. "Jake? Get in here this instant." A high-pitched voice hollered from the living room. She didn't sound like she was in a good mood. She hardly ever was. I sighed and made my way to the room where my mother waited. She sat on the ratty, old, blue couch we've had since I could remember when. A glass bottle half empty was in her right hand. A baseball bat in her left. My baseball bat. Oh no, this can't be good. Well? Aren't you going to greet your mother? Should be common courtesy to greet the one who brought you into this world. She took a few swigs from the bottle, no doubt getting shit-faced. Like always. "Hi, Mom." I tried to keep my distance from her and making sure I had an escape plan. Not something a 13-year-old usually had to keep in mind, but you pick up on these things when you've only ever lived with an alcoholic, abusive, crazy mother. "We got a call today." Her voice made me tense, preparing for whatever bad news she was about to deliver. A man was looking for me to ask if my son, Jake, would be interested in going to some fancy schmancy private high school on a baseball scholarship. Imagine my surprise to find out my boy was so good at a sport I banned him to play. So I decide to go through his room to find out what other secrets he's keeping. She playfully swung the bat around, looking a bit deranged. "Look what I found." I clenched my fists, inwardly cursing that coach. I told him to never call the house number, that he could just find me at my school. "That's just for decoration." I lied through my teeth, hoping to buy some time before the alcohol makes her sleepy. She chuckled, placing the bottle down as she stood up. "My boy, you think you can lie to me?" She gripped the bat with both hands and started to recklessly swing it around. "Were you thinking I didn't notice you leaving early and coming back late? That you were slowly turning into your brother? Into your father? Stupid." I knew it was time to make a run for it. Whenever she mentioned the missing half of our family, it only spelt out bad news for me. And danger. As I tried to back up the way I came in, she charged me. Lifting the bat in the air, she swung it down like a sword, connecting with the back of my head. I tumbled down in pain and she continued her beating. The bat took turns hitting my ribs, legs and arms. I rolled into a ball, trying to protect my abdomen and head. Everything was hurting in mere minutes. Why me? Why her? Did my dad and older brother know that they left me in the hands of a crazy person? Do they even care? I blacked out. "How is he today?" Doug Duncan asked the old doctor sitting across from him. They both sat in the doctor's private office talking about Duncan's most recent case. A boy beaten so badly by his mother that even the paramedic threw up after coming to the bloody scene. The doctor pushed up his glasses and opened the case file, sliding it to Mr. Duncan. "Here's the latest updates. We're at the 6-month mark now. All fractures, bumps, and bruises are healed over. Rehab went well. No setbacks. The physical scars aren't so noticeable anymore." He sighed. "The mental scars are the real problem. According to his psychiatrist, he still hasn't spoken. A nod here and there is all we can really get from him." Mr. Duncan nodded. "It's the same on our side. The trauma is still recent, so it's understandable." He closed the file and slid it into his briefcase. "We're going to move him next week. To an orphanage or a group home." The doctor frowned. "Although I've said that he's recovered, I would recommend that he would be closely monitored in case issues arise. Injuries that were so severe might affect his growth in the future." Mr. Duncan grimaced at the thought of the kid's injuries. "No, as the ward of the state, I've petitioned him to be placed with a foster family up north. We have a lead on the boy's father, but aren't too sure." He stood up and the doctor followed suit. They shook hands and gave tight smiles. "Under the circumstances, it's hard to say it's been nice working with you, but at least you've made it easy on me." "Thank you." The doctor nodded sympathetically. Good luck to you and to the boy. He's had a rough start. Mr. Duncan sighed and left the office, closing the door behind him. As a social worker, he's used to working with doctors reporting child abuse cases, but not one as serious as this, where the mother was charged with attempted murder. He walked down the hall to get outside to make a call. Hello. A woman's pleasant voice answered on the first ring. Mrs. Atkins? Doug Duncan here. Have you read the case file I sent over? He asked. Oh, hi Doug. Please call me Mary. And yes, my husband and I have both looked over the case file. That poor boy. We have talked about it and agreed that he needs our help. We already told our boys about the new addition and readied a room for him. Mr. Duncan sighed with relief. Thank you, Mary. I wish all my emergency foster families were as kind as you guys. I'll be bringing him over this weekend if you're all set then. That will be just fine. It'll just be my youngest and me at home this weekend, so it won't be too overwhelming, I hope. My youngest is also 14, so I'm sure they'll get along as well. I wouldn't expect any trouble. Jake hasn't really even communicated with others, so it's hard to say. He isn't talking. Not really. A word here and there. A local psychiatrist will work with him once we get him settled in with you guys. I know it's not easy to take in a teenage boy that you don't even know, but you can reach out to me at any time for help. No worries, Doug. This is what we signed up for. To help kids in need. Jake is a bit older than the ones we usually get, but my 4 boys are all near his age and I'm sure that'll help him. Thanks again, Mary. I'll send you the details via email, but you can expect me to bring him by Saturday morning. Hello Jake. How are you today? My social worker walked into the hospital room where I've been staying in for some time now. Doug Duncan was only 5.5 feet tall. 6 inches taller than me, but his personality felt stronger than his stature. Are you feeling all better and ready to get out of here? I shrugged. Not sure what to say. I'm alive, so good? But also my mom is being tried for attempted murder, so how good can I really be? Mr. Duncan stared at me, and I just stared back. Finally he just continues, like my lack of replies don't bother him. We found a home to place you in. It's a single family with 4 kids of their own. We have already prepped the parents on your situation and they know to not allow your mother to contact you. I clenched my fists at the thought of ever seeing her again. As for the case against your mother, her lawyer has her pleading not guilty on the basis of having a mental breakdown. I turned away. I didn't really want to hear about her. Someone like that had no place in my life. I won't lie to you. It's going to a long, hard case. We do have a restraining order in place and she has no way to make bail without money or family to help. He paused. You're 14 now, so I think you're old enough to know that we are looking for who your dad might be. I looked up at him and he looked at me. They didn't even know who my dad was. Did they even know I have a brother? Should I mention it? No, I shouldn't. They left me before, so it would only make sense that they wouldn't want me now. What's the point? Mr. Duncan waited patiently as I looked at him. Maybe he thought I had something to say or some kind of insight on where to search. I just didn't care, so I looked away once more. Okay then, we'll hit the road once you're all packed up. I walked over and grabbed a backpack from a chair. I was already told last night to be ready to leave with Mr. Duncan, so it's not a big surprise. Some friends from middle school came by with a few clothing items and my baseball glove. They didn't bring the bat. Last I heard, it was being held as evidence. Not like I wanted it back. Mr. Duncan watched me put the bag on my shoulder and then gestured for me to follow him out. Once you get settled and all the paperwork is processed, the state will issue a check for the family to help you get some necessities. So even though it might seem like you don't have a lot now, it'll change in time. I followed him out to his car, a clean, but obviously older, 4-door sedan. I got in the front passenger seat and placed my bag at my feet. Mr. Duncan got in on his side and started up the car. The Atkins will be the ones to take you in. They live more up north, still on the coast. It'll be a nice change, I'm sure. He spoke as he drove, filling up the silence with small talk. The Atkins are a great family. Very kind and easy to get along with. Their kids are all in high school. We'll be able to send you to the same one for now, until we find your father, and then we'll see how it goes from there." Mr. Duncan prattled on as I watched the scenery fly by. He seemed like a nice guy in his young 30s, helping the helpless and changing lives. Hopefully he could help me change mine too. "Hey, Jake. You should start waking up. We're almost there." Mr. Duncan patted my shoulder as if waking me gently. I opened my eyes slowly, pretending to just wake up. After driving all Friday, we stayed in a little dinky motel to sleep. Then early Saturday morning, we got up and hit the road again. California is a long state, so to drive from the south to the north would take more than a few hours. This morning I pretended to sleep the rest of the way so I wouldn't have to hear Mr. Duncan's forced small talk any longer. Don't get me wrong, he seems like the nice guy type, but all he's been talking about is my foster family, the Atkins. The parents both work as real estate agents in a small company they own themselves. They have 4 boys in high school, a senior, a set of twins in their junior year, and a freshman like me. They live in a quiet house, on a quiet street, in a quiet neighborhood, in a quiet town. Can 4 teenage boys be described as quiet? It all just sounds like nonsense to me. Watsonville is only a city away from the beach. It may be a small community, but there are multiple bigger cities on all sides, so you get a bit of everything. Mr. Duncan is just like a machine of endless facts and comments. He exited the highway and started to take some streets. Mary Atkins and her youngest boy, Noah, will be there to greet us. From what I understand, Wayne and the older 3 boys are on a small trip, but will be home tomorrow. I stared out the window, with nothing to say. This whole thing feels a bit surreal. I'm no longer a prisoner to my mom, but now the state is going to just put me with a random family? They could be just as crazy. Starting Monday, you'll be eligible to go to high school with the other boys. I've already signed you up with Mary and Wayne as your temporary guardians. I've spoken to the school counselor at length about your case, so if you have any problems, you can go to her. Mr. Duncan tapped his steering wheel. I'll leave a piece of paper for you with names and numbers just for clarification. You'll also have a psychiatrist, which you'll need to visit once a week. Mary will get you all signed up and settled with that. Great. So they think I'm the crazy one. I started to zone out on what he was saying and started to focus more on what I was seeing. Mr. Duncan was driving through small neighborhoods with the occasional grocery store or fast food restaurant scattered throughout. Definitely a small town feel to it. Jake. Mr. Duncan raised his voice, grabbing my attention. He glanced at me to make sure I was looking at him. I know that there's a lot to take in. Don't be nervous. I've got your back. If you feel uncomfortable or scared, you should reach out to me or your psychiatrist and we'll find you a new temporary home. I scoffed inwardly. Scared? What can be scarier than my own mom trying to kill me? Your new home is coming up. His driving got slower as we moved through more residential streets. He slowly pulled into an empty driveway of a pink house. I kid you not. Pink. The 2-story house was pink, with white shutters framing the windows. A small porch with a wooden swinging bench was very picturesque. Something out of a magazine. I looked at Mr. Duncan, unsure if this was really it. He just gave me a reassuring smile and got out of his car. I followed Mr. Duncan's lead and also got out of the car, grabbing my backpack. He confidently led the way to the door and knocked on it. I stood a couple feet back, making sure to keep my distance. The door opened to reveal a woman. She was taller than Mr. Duncan, light blonde hair to her shoulders, and had really bright eyes. She smiled at Mr. Duncan. Doug, hello, it's nice to finally meet you in person. I twitched. He doesn't even know these people personally? She turned to me next. And you must be Jake. It's great to have you here. My name is Mary Atkins, but you can just call me Mary. Come in guys, come in. She held the front door open and waved us in. I looked at Mr. Duncan, unsure about this. She was just too happy, too welcoming, and too different than what I'm used to. She was well put together in a 3-piece business suit and heels, looking more like a lawyer in my opinion. Mr. Duncan smiled at me and then at her. Yes, thank you for your hospitality. He walked in and gestured for me to follow. Jake, this is your new home, so no need to be shy. I tried to keep my poker face as I walked in. Mary closed the door behind me and then led us through the first floor, pointing out the living room, office, kitchen, and then sat us in the dining room, where a plate of cookies were placed on the table. She sat at the head of the table, Mr. Duncan sat on her left, and I sat on the other side of him. They made small talk about the drive, the weather, and other mundane things. The conversation was light until Mr. Duncan brought out a file from his briefcase. So as we discussed before, Jake is a special case. He gave me a light smile before turning back to her. He can communicate, no problem, but he doesn't like to talk. She gave me a sympathetic smile. Yes, I saw that in his psych evaluation. I've already talked to the whole family, so we'll try to make you as comfortable as possible. I nodded. Sure. I, at least, believe that she wouldn't kill me. I'd make sure of that. Mom, you can't even tell that you guys are making him uncomfortable right this moment. A voice said behind me. I jumped a little, caught off guard. I glanced at the boy that stood behind me. He definitely belongs to Mary with his light hair and bright eyes. He looked to be almost the same height as Mr. Duncan, but skinny. See how tense he is? The boy rolled his eyes. He jumped a mile high just at the sound of my voice. I frowned at him. It definitely wasn't that high. What an exaggeration. He laughed at the sight of my face. Okay, he didn't jump that much. He turned to his mom. Let me go show him to his room and get him settled in. You guys can continue the adult stuff. I looked at Mary to see what she would say. She looked at me, then back at the boy. All right, make sure to help him unpack. Take the cookies with you. He hasn't even tried them yet. Yeah. The boy grabbed the plate of cookies. Let's go, Jake. I'll show you the room. We're bunking together, so I hope you don't have too much stuff. I stood up and grabbed my backpack. Mr. Duncan coughed a little nervously. Jake only has a backpack worth of personal items and clothes. I'm actually leaving a check with your mom to help him buy some more. The boy glanced at my bag, then looked me in the eyes. New clothes plus new stuff equals new start. Simple math. He nodded at me. Let's go on up. I gave a look to Mr. Duncan and raised my hand to give a small wave. He nodded. I'll be back Sunday night when the rest of the Atkins get back, so I'll see you then. Just follow me. The boy smiled at me and then led me to the stairs by the front door. As we climbed the stairs, I noticed multiple pictures were hung on the walls. Family pictures apparently. The boy caught me looking and stopped in front of one. This is a photo of us we took last month, during Christmas. They all wore matching Christmas tree sweaters in front of a fireplace. He started to point at each one. That's obviously me. Mom. Dad. Zeke is the one that isn't smiling right there. Dave and Kyle are the twins. Zeke and the twins looked very similar to Noah and his mom. Very strong genes. Their dad was tall, with sandy hair, and light-colored eyes. You'll meet them tomorrow when they come back from camp. He picked up a cookie and started to eat. I looked at him, raising an eyebrow. I could hear the bitterness in the word camp, loud and clear. He sighed at my look. It was a baseball selection camp for travel ball from the fall and winter season. Unfortunately, I wasn't invited because I'm not at their level yet. He shot a glare at the photo. Those jerks. He turned away and started to stomp up the stairs. I followed. He pointed at closed doors and told me which room was whose. The twins shared the master bedroom with Zeke. His parents' room faced the front yard and had a bathroom of their own inside. We had the last room on the right, facing the backyard. The bathroom that belonged to us was the one in the hall, but apparently, sometimes his brothers used it as well. He opened the door to our room. Well, this is it. Mi casa es su casa. Yada yada. He went to the bottom bunk of the bed and continued to eat the cookies. Top bunk is yours. That dresser on the left is yours. I tried to clear out half the closet, but I have too much baseball stuff, so there isn't much space. Baseball? I thought back to his comment about his brothers who are at camp for travel ball. They must be good. I've heard from a few friends in middle school that they got to play baseball on city teams when the school's baseball team wasn't in session. Do you really need help unpacking, or are you just zoning out? Noah said from his bed. I dropped my backpack near the two dressers on the left side of the room and started to put away what little I had. All that was left was my baseball glove and the backpack itself. Backpack goes on the back of the door. I'm sure you'll have to use it for school on Monday. Noah seemed to know that I didn't know where to put it. I closed the door slightly to find a backpack already hanging from a hook. I hung mine as well and pulled out the glove. Oh. You play? You should have said something sooner. Noah set the cookie plate down and opened his closet. It had 3-foot shelves that held multiple gloves, old scorecards, and some baseball books. 3 aluminum bats caught my eye from the corner of the closet. I flinched and took a step back. Noah didn't notice as he was busy pulling out a baseball backpack that contained a bat, glove, some balls, and other gear. Just set it in here and we'll be able to go play later. I placed my glove in his outstretched hand. Wow. This is really broken in. You must have had this forever. Not really. I grabbed it from the lost and found in 7th grade after I outgrew the kid one I got from a friend. I never had baseball stuff of my own. Noah sensed something was off about me. He pushed the bag back to the closet and stood up to face me. He patted the top of my head. Don't worry if you think you aren't good. I'll teach you everything I know. I tilted my head. Oh? That wasn't it? My bad. He shrugged with a smile on his face. No matter. I'm the best around here so you'll have something to learn. I rolled my eyes. How can you be the best when you were the only brother not invited to that camp? Noah narrowed his eyes, no doubt not liking my attitude towards his claim. You don't believe me. I stepped out the room and pointed at his brother's room. He stepped out as well to see what I was pointing at. He looked back at me. You think my brothers are better than me? I nodded. Obviously. He crossed his noodle arms over his chest. Okay, fine. So I'm not the best. But, I'll have you know, I'm the best freshman. Even my brothers didn't make the varsity team as freshmen. That's a fact. I looked at him curiously. Could he be better than me? What? Are you still doubting me? He stood a little taller. I shook my head. No. I'm sure he's better than average with this attitude. Noah looks to be a pretty straightforward kid. He smiled at my submission and threw an arm around my shoulders, dragging me back to our room. You're a smart kid, Jake. I like you. Let's finish Mom's cookies and then I'll show you around the neighborhood. There's a park down the street where we can throw the ball. He pulled the cookie plate off his bed and sat on the floor. He gestured for me to sit on the other side of the plate. You haven't tried them yet. Come on, grab one. I did what I was told and took a cookie. It looked to be chocolate chip. I don't think my mom ever set a foot in the kitchen, let alone baked homemade cookies. I ate the cookie slowly, savoring every bite. So good. It was soft and melted in my mouth. Mom only makes these on special occasions, holidays, and birthdays. They're super good so my dad's afraid that we won't be able to hold ourselves back when eating them. Hence why we don't get them every day. I finished my first cookie since forever. I looked at Noah, then at the plate, then back at Noah. He understood right away and pushed it closer to me. Help yourself. You don't have to ask me for a cookie. And so I did. Yeah no, I thought I wasn't going to like you. I froze. Then slid further away from him and the cookies. I said thought. He scooted the plate to me, but stayed where he was. My brothers are super close so I always feel a little left out. The age gap is only 2 and 3 years, but we haven't been to the same school since we were kids in elementary school. And we never played on the same team before. Look, even now, they were picked for the elite camp and I wasn't. It just feels good to have someone a bit closer. I stuffed a cookie in my mouth. I got what Noah was trying to say. He thought I might be like his brothers and that there would be a significant gap between us. I also felt like there was a gap between me and my brother. He was 10 when I was 3 so there was a 7-year gap. Dad took him away and not me. That's all I remember, but that's enough to make a difference between us. You'll meet them tomorrow by the way. You better be on my side for everything like the twins are. They fight the most, yet they like to team up together against me. So now, it'll be 2 versus 2. Noah continued. I held up 3 fingers then 2, trying to ask about his oldest brother. He squinted at me, then he got it. Oh, Zeke. He doesn't really meddle unless it's baseball. He likes to act all high and mighty. He frowned. He's the captain of the varsity team, so he's a bit more strict lately. I offered him the last cookie to cheer him up. He shook his head. I'm good. You have it. Then we'll go down and see if Mom will let us go to the park. I nodded in agreement and ate the last cookie just as slowly as I ate the first. Okay, let's go find my mom. Noah jumped up with the empty plate and led me downstairs. Mary was no longer in the dining room, so we checked the kitchen next. Noah put the plate in the sink, but she wasn't in there either. Must be in the office. Mr. Duncan sure didn't stay long. I swallowed harder than normal. I felt nervous knowing I was left here with quite a few strangers. Noah was oblivious as he moved throughout the house looking for his mom. He knocked on the office door before opening it, slowing. Mom, you busy? Can I take Jake to the park before we have lunch? Come in, boys, let's talk. Her soft voice called out, but I couldn't help flinching. Let's talk was my mom's go-to phrase before giving a beating. Mary wasn't her though. She was sitting in a black leather chair, behind a desk, with glasses on. What's up? Noah walked in as I stayed just outside. He glanced back at me, but didn't comment. Mary didn't say anything about my strange behavior either. I wanted to take Jake to the mall for clothes and school supplies today since I have an open house to show tomorrow. I figured we can head out now for an early lunch, get the shopping done, then maybe a movie before dinner. Noah nodded along. Okay. That's fine. We'll just go to the park tomorrow then. No worries. Mary smiled and stood up. Alrighty. Go get in the car and I'll grab my purse. Noah left the office and dragged me towards the garage door. What a treat. Free clothes, eating out, and a movie. All for you. I'm starting to think you're the new favorite in this family. I gave a light smile. Noah was like the definition of easygoing. He patted the black sedan. This is Mom's real baby. She loves her BMW. He pointed at the silver SUV type. The Dodge Durango is the family car. Zeke uses it to drive us to and from school and practice. Occasionally he'll let the twins practice driving. He shuddered. Pray every time you see one of them in the driver's seat. It's not a pleasant experience. Are you talking badly about your brothers again, Noah? Mary joined us in the garage. No, ma'am. Just giving Jake some life-saving advice. He winked at me. Mary sighed and shook her head, but didn't say any more. We all got into her car and started to go. The mall they took me to was in the city of Marlow, just a couple miles over. It was 2 stories and took up way more space than I would expect. The first stop was at the burger joint on the 2nd floor. When we were seated at a table, I made sure that Noah sat across from his mom, and I sat next to him. Keeping a safe distance from her felt like a priority. Mom, we have to get him some baseball clothes and stuff. Noah told her, excited. The exact opposite of what I was feeling. I shook my head violently, trying to disagree. Mary laughed. I don't think you guys are on the same page here. Noah shot me an incredulous look. Bro, you have a glove, but no athletic wear. How are we going to play together if you're in jeans? I widened my eyes looking at him, then tilted my head towards his mom. He rolled his eyes. My mom doesn't mind. Really? We all play baseball and she's very supportive. It's no problem at all. For obvious reasons, that felt like a stab. My chest started to ache and tears were threatening to fall. Mom. Noah looked towards Mary while putting a hand on my shoulder. What's wrong with him? Did I say something malicious? What do we do? Mary calmly slid the napkin container towards me. Just let him cry it out. He's going to be okay. Noah wasn't satisfied with her response. He shook me a bit. Jake? Jake, I'm sorry, okay? We don't have to play baseball. We can play mini golf tomorrow instead. I grabbed a napkin and dabbed the tears from the corner of my eyes so they wouldn't fall. I looked at Mary and nodded my thanks. Her gentle smile never wavered. It's okay to get sad, Jake. No matter what you're sad about, we'll face it together. If you're not ready to play baseball so soon, that's okay as well. It'll be waiting for you and not going anywhere. Wayne and I raise the boys to follow their dreams and to do what they like for hobbies. We don't force them one way or the other. Just nothing like my mom. Jake. Noah still worried. I gave him a thumbs up and a weak smile to signify that I'm fine. He sighed. You had me scared for a second. I thought I broke you or something. Oh. Mary chuckled. Who knew you could play Big Brother so well, Noah? It's a nice change for you. Noah rolled his eyes at her. I'm not playing. I am his big brother. I checked his birthday, I've got 3 months on him. He grinned at me. If you have any problems, just come to me. I'll solve them all like a real big brother. Unlike mine, who bully the young and don't know how to treat others with respect. Oh really? Mary smirked. How do you plan on helping him with his math homework if he's ahead of you? Noah's jaw dropped. He's not in geometry with me? I thought you would place him in all of my classes so I can watch out for him. Nope. Her smirk was more pronounced. Jake is actually very bright when it comes to math. He'll be taking pre-calculus with the twins. You would put him with those troublemakers. Noah looked at me with pity. It's going to be hard on you, Jackie. This is what you get for being so smart. Mary rolled her eyes like Noah usually does. Don't be so dramatic. Dave and Kyle are well behaved in class. I noted how she had to add in class at the end. Even she couldn't admit that they weren't as much trouble as Noah made them out to be. What about the 5 Saturday detentions they had to attend for being a disturbance in class just last semester alone? Noah refuted. Mary looked at me, embarrassed. They aren't that bad. Just rowdy teenage boys. I shrugged to show that it didn't matter to me. As long as they didn't want to beat me up, then I don't care. We spent the rest of the day doing what Mary had planned out. I got a few sets of school clothes, some workout clothes, and my own set of school supplies. Afterwards, she took us to see an action film I've never heard of, but Noah claimed it was a remake of a classic and it'd be great. Then we ate dinner at a taco place on the way home. Today was the first day in quite a long time that I spent with a friend, and I almost forgot how it felt before. Noah felt trustworthy and his outgoing personality made it easy on me. Tomorrow morning, Mom has her open house. Want to go to the arcade? Noah asked as we finished putting away my new clothes. It has mini golf, arcade games, and the batting cages. It's only 2 miles by bike. I scrunched up my face at the thought of riding a bike. Noah noticed. What? You think that's too far or something? I shook my head and cleared my throat. Can't. I coughed up the one word and quickly looked away. Oh. You can't ride? That's okay. We'll just have Mom drop us off. No worries. He patted my shoulder and smiled. I'll teach you when we get back in the evening. He got into his bed. Go on up. It's time to sleep. I nodded, and scurried up onto the top bunk. It didn't take long to hear Noah snoring, yet I couldn't fall asleep the same way. Today was a whirlwind and I was still catching up, mentally. This is it. The arcade. Noah stretched his arms out wide after we got out of his mom's car. A huge, castle-like building stood before us. It was legitimately named the arcade on the highest part of the building. Mary drove away to go do her work, leaving me with an energetic Noah. He had on his baseball backpack that held some bats, gloves, snacks, and money for lunch. I kept 2 feet between us so he wouldn't accidentally hit me with his aluminum bat. Let's play mini golf first. It's around the right side. There are 4 courses to choose from. He explained as we walk around. Easy. Moderate. Hard. And hell. We'll do the easy one first to see where you stand. I stand at the bottom. I've never held a golf club in my life. Especially not a putter. Nonetheless, I accepted the putter and tiny ball Noah handed me after paying for them. Each course had only 9 holes. Noah had me try all 36 holes and patiently taught me the tricks to getting the hole-in-one for each hole. Soon enough I had it figured out. It really was fun once you get the hang of it. After we turned in the putters, Noah dragged me through the arcade and taught me all his favorite games. These are the essentials. He told me. If you don't know how to do these, then the other boys at school will make fun of you. And if they do that, I'll have to go around starting fights to protect you. Then Mom will get mad at the both of us. See the connection? I nodded slowly. I really didn't, but Noah would know better than me. I never played games with friends or done anything outside of school grounds. And my mom was mad at everything all the time, so it made sense that his mom would be mad about fighting. After the mini golf lessons, and losing every game we played against each other, we made our way to the snack bar. Noah ordered a pizza to share and 2 sodas. He placed his bag down and we sat on opposite sides of the table and started to dig in. The cages is where I would take you next, but you seem to have a slight aversion to baseball right now. You have a glove, yet you didn't want baseball clothes to play in. It's strange, yeah no? Noah confronted. I kept eating, not wanting to talk about it. I don't know what's wrong with me either. I should be able to play freely now without my mom holding me back, but it makes me anxious. Hypothetically speaking, it's not like she'll catch me playing and try to kill me again. But still. The fear is there. What do you like more, hitting, pitching, or fielding? Noah changed tactics. I frowned, but lifted one finger. Hitting. He nodded. Most do. But for me, I like fielding. Sudden sprints to catch an out-of-reach fly ball. Diving for hard grounders. The satisfaction of snatching a line drive out of the air. I looked at him with a blank face. I couldn't exactly relate. At my middle school we only had a batting cage and not an actual field. All I got to do was practice batting and occasionally throw the ball around with a classmate. I wasn't even officially on the team since there's no way my mom was going to sign the parent release statement. It's fine. Noah waved his hand back and forth as if trying to disperse my negative aura. Let's see if you can try batting here with me. No pressure. If you don't want to try, we can also just take a look to kill time. After we ate, Noah dragged me towards the batting cages. Right before going through the double doors that led outside to the cages, there was a long counter, filled with baseball memorabilia. The cages are token operated. Noah explained while getting some cash out. 1 token for $1. Each token gets you 12 pitches from whichever machine you would like. He handed a 20 to the lady behind the counter. 20 tokens please. Sure thing. The lady counted out 20 tokens and pushed them towards us. Do you need any helmets, bats, or batting gloves? We can rent them out for a few dollars. She waved her hand towards a wall that had everything you would need to use the batting cages, helmets, batting gloves of multiple sizes, and all kinds of bats. I took a few steps towards the bats, examining what she had. I don't know much about bats except that there are weight and length restrictions for different age groups. Come on Jake. I have bats for us to use. We can share my helmet and gloves for now. No need to waste money. Noah tried to rush me. But I wasn't interested in his bats. They were aluminum like my old one. The one my mom used to beat me. What caught my attention was the wooden bats that were also grouped there. I lifted one, a little unsure of what to expect. The weight was the same as my old bat but somehow it felt heavier. Solid. I held it like I was setting up in the righty's box and took a slow practice swing. Please don't swing bats inside. The lady called out. I jumped and accidentally dropped the bat. Sorry, he didn't know. I didn't get to tell him yet. Noah apologized for me as he picked up the wooden bat. He looked at my guilt-stricken face. Don't worry, you're not in trouble. She just doesn't want us accidentally breaking other merchandise. Do you want to use this bat? It's wood. The ball won't go very far. He thought a bit then shrugged. Well, it's just the cages so it's not like it could go far anyways. He took the bat to the counter. My friend would like to use this. How much would it be to rent it? The lady flipped the bat to the end of the barrel where a sticker said, "For sale only," with a $60 next to it. Wooden bats are easier to break in the cages. No way. $60? That's too much. And it even looks used already. Noah protested. It's a MLB Prime Maple Louisville Slugger. Its original cost is easily over $100. We cut the cost since it's a return item. An older man came from behind us. It's a good bat. Hard to break or chip. Even some professionals would use it. Even more reason to just let us borrow it. Noah countered, facing the old man. Come on boss. We're just lowly freshmen, how could we break a bat that even professionals trust? The old man smiled and patted Noah's head. So relentless. Definitely an Atkins boy. So they knew each other? Fine, $10 rental fee. If you break it, you buy it. The full 60. Noah happily slapped a $10 bill on the counter. Thanks, boss. We're just having fun anyways. Stop worrying so much. The old man just shook his head and walked away. That's the boss. Noah told me as he put the wooden bat in my hands. He runs this place so we see him frequently. My brothers say he used to be a pro way back when. My eyes widened. That frail old man used to be a pro? Let's go see what you can do with the bat. Maybe we can convince Mom to buy it if you like it. He threw an arm around my shoulders, pushing me towards the doors. The batting cages are lined up easy to hard. You can find the speed and type of pitch listed up there. Noah pointed to the first cage we walked up to. Softball slow pitch. As you can see, this is where little girls will gather. And sometimes old men who play in adult slow pitch leagues. A bunch of little girls were lined up for this particular cage with parents standing nearby. There's also a fast pitch softball machine. Moving on to where we want to be. The baseball speed starts at 50 miles an hour. Then 60 miles per hour, 70 miles per hour. Then in increments of 5. 75 miles per hour, 80 miles per hour, 85 miles per hour, 90 miles per hour, 95 miles per hour. And 100 miles per hour. Noah took me along the cages, pointing out the difference between each one. The faster you want, the less you have to wait. Not everyone wants to waste a token on something they can't even hit. I nodded along. This was my first time seeing so many pitching machines. At my middle school, we only had one machine that could change speeds, but you had to do it manually. I was told it was a donation from someone's dad, but it benefited me the most. I used to spend hours and hours in there playing around as the other boys got to play real baseball. Where do you want to start? Noah's smile was the biggest I've seen yet. I tightened my grip on the bat and walked back to the 50 miles per hour cage, then got in line. Noah's smile faltered. Please tell me you're joking. This is for grade schoolers. I shook my head. No. This is where I should start. Warming up is important. Plus I have a new bat that I haven't even tried before. Ugh. You suck. He peered over at a further cage, then looked back at me. I'm going to the 70 and 75 cage. There's not much of line here, so just join me when you're done. He handed me half of his tokens, then opened up his backpack. He pulled out his helmet and pushed it to me. Use this. I'll go back and get one from the counter. You don't really need gloves on such slow speeds. I nodded. I've never used batting gloves before anyways. Noah patted my shoulder once, then ran off after putting his bag back on. I waited patiently behind a couple of kids, younger than me. The 12 pitches for each token made things go by quickly, and it wasn't long before it was my turn. I put the helmet on and took a few practice swings once I stepped in the cage. Then I put my first token in. I stepped into the righty's box and got set, feet apart, knees lightly bent, elbow back, shoulders loose. The first pitch came. Seemingly slow, but I waited, then perfectly hit the ball, sending it back towards the machine. Good. That's one. The bat felt a bit foreign, but it was nice. I haven't held a bat in about 6 months. Not since my mom came after me with one. She had broken both of my arms, split my head open, rib fractures, and there was a lot of blood. I don't remember much after the first hit to the head, but I remember seeing a lot of red when opening my eyes. It was sickening. The first 2 months were easy, just lying on a bed, all bandaged up with casts. The last 4 months were straight rehab and strengthening all the muscles that atrophied. Even now, I just don't feel the same. Just, so, weak. I finished the rest of the pitches, sending them all right back to the pitching machine perfectly. Instead of leaving the cage after, I put another token in, but this time I went to the lefty's box. That's right. I stepped into the lefty's box. I practiced both since the end of 6th grade when I heard the school coach say switch hitters are the most useful because it's like 2 batters in one. They can face any kind of pitcher. It took me quite a while to get the hang of it, but now I was pretty equal for both. I could do the exact same thing, sending all 12 pitches back to the machine, with my left. I left the cage and got in line for the next speed, 60 miles per hour. Noah was right about the 50, it was pretty wimpy. It didn't even feel like a warm-up for me, even though I took half a year off. This was the line I fit in with the most. All the kids in this line looked to be close to my age and to my stature. It only took a few minutes to get to my turn. I put in my third token and got in the righty's box first once more. 12 pitches turned into 12 perfect hits straight up the middle. The fourth token let me match my perfect right with a perfect lefty performance. Very even, very equal. The satisfaction was insurmountable. I moved to the line for the 70 miles per hour cage just as Noah came out of the 75 miles per hour next to it. He smiled as he came over. Moving on up, huh? I nodded. It's going well then. I nodded again. How many coins do you have left? I pulled out the 6 tokens to show him. He rolled his eyes. I can't believe you wasted $4 on the slow stuff. That won't make you into a better player. Warm up. I muttered. He squinted at me. You needed a warm up? Twice in each cage. I nodded. I haven't even held a bat in 6 months, of course I need to shake off the rust. He put a hand to his forehead and sighed in exasperation. Unbelievable. What a waste. You better hit at least half of these 70s then. Like full-on hit where you know it'll be a fair ball. I shrugged. That's easy. 70 miles per hour isn't my limit. I went into the cage after it freed up. Put the token in. Then got set. Tighten up your stance. Noah called out from behind. I ignored him. Everyone hits differently and have different preferences. The way I taught myself leaves me satisfied, so I see no reason to try something new. The first pitch came, I sent it right back to the middle. Lucky hit. Noah called out. Let's see if you can do it again. Of course I did it again. And again. And again. For all 12 pitches. When I turned to face Noah, I had to laugh at his shocked expression. He came back to reality at the sound of my laugh. Unbelievable. You let me believe that you weren't even good. I raised my eyebrows and went to put another token in. Again? Come on. Let me see you do the 75 instead. I shook my head no and slid the token in. Then went to the lefty's box. Noah was saying something but he stopped mid-sentence as soon as I hit the ball back to the machine. Repeatedly. Perfectly. 12 for 12. I felt good. If only I could do this every day. I stepped out of the cage and Noah tackled me, pushing me around playfully. Jake. Too amazing. My brothers can't even do that. Were you always able to do that? You're like a machine yourself. Practiced. I mumbled, not liking the extra weight he was putting on me. I slipped out of his grip and started to move to the 75 miles per hour line. You practiced that? Since when? For how long? Do you think I can do that too? Noah was like the Energizer Bunny. He kept going and going, with endless questions, not even leaving me room to reply. I just let him talk to himself. Besides not being able to get a word in, I wouldn't even know how to explain to him. Practice really sums it up. I started it a couple years ago. I imagine my reflection when I'm on either side of home plate so it's the same swing, just like looking in a mirror. Noah finally paused to take a breath. He looked at me excitedly. We have to hustle, my brothers. I raised an eyebrow. Think about it. They would never believe that the foster kid we got randomly assigned to us is actually a switch hitter. This is our chance to win some extra money so we can come here more often. I started to nod. I like it here. Mini golf was fun too. And I would like to practice swinging every day. It brings a certain calming effect to me. Can you do the 75 miles per hour too? Noah glanced at the cage as the line got shorter and shorter. I gave him a single nod. Just like last time. I nodded once more. With both. I nodded again. Bro, I really hope you can. This would be the biggest hustle. He pushed me to the cage as it finally emptied. Show me. Show me. Show me. I lightly laughed at his impatience. But I also felt eager to show off. No one my age has ever complimented me on my switch hitting. That high school coach who tried recruiting me was the only one to really know what I could do. The 75 miles per hour cage really didn't feel difficult to me at all. I smoothly got into the rhythm of hitting the ball right with the center of my bat and sending it straight to the pitching machine. I used a token for my right and then a token for my left. There wasn't much variation in how I hit the ball. You're a legit machine, Jake. Noah pounced on me once I stepped out. You hit all those pitches to the exact same spot. That's not normal at all. I pouted. Noah ignored my discontent and dragged me to the 80 miles per hour cage. This is the real test now. Most high school pitchers only have a velocity of 75 to 80. I scrunched up my nose, not impressed, but Noah didn't see. He was too busy pulling his baseball gloves out of his backpack. Put these on. We have to protect these golden hands of yours. He tried giving them to me, but I refused. I held up my hand to show the size difference between us. Noah is easily half of a foot taller than me even though we both have skinny frames. His 5'6" towered over me, making me feel like he really was older than me. It only makes sense that his hands are bigger too. Noah sighed and put the gloves away. Will you be okay without some? Or should I go back to rent a pair? I gave him the universal okay sign. I never could afford batting gloves beforehand when I was hiding baseball from my mom, so it's not like I'm used to it. I clutched the wooden bat in my left hand and 2 tokens in my right. It was time to try the 80s. I went in the cage, but didn't put a token in right away. Instead, I took a few practice swings with my right and then my left, trying to time my swing to what I think would be able to hit 80 miles per hour. Even though I used to be able to do it perfectly, it's been so long. I don't want to let Noah down and look like a liar or a braggart. When I finally felt comfortable enough, I put the first token in. The first pitch came, and then went back with the swing of my bat. It was a little off, but I can adjust. I got in the zone and sent back the other 11 pitches, put in a new token and did the same thing with my left. I let out a big breath of air and let my body fully relax. This was it. The feeling I looked for. I stepped out of the cage, surprised Noah wasn't yelling about, excitedly. He stood right outside the gate, jaw dropped. I shifted foot to foot, nervously, not sure if he's still excited. For the day that I've known him, he's been showing his emotions without care, so he's easy to read. Except for right now. He looked at me with a sad-looking expression. Jake. Why are you doing this to me? My eyes widened with alarm. I just said I was the best freshman. He sighed. Now I actually have competition. I relaxed and smiled at him. He gave me the side eye. Are you going to try the 85? I held out my last 2 tokens and nodded. I wanted to at least try a challenging speed once, before running out of tokens. He pushed me along to the cage. Go. Go. I can't wait to see. He kept pushing and I bumped into something hard. We both had to take a few steps back. What the hell? A tall and very well-built guy turned to face us. He glared down. You kids need to watch where you're going. I froze, terrified of this guy's booming voice. Sorry. Noah jumped out in front of me. My bad. I was too excited and accidentally pushed him into you. He sent us another glare and walked towards a few guys at a nearby bench, not bothering to even accept an apology. Oops, my bad. Noah faced me, giving me a tight smile. You okay, Jake? He didn't scare you, did he? My grip on the bat tightened, but I shook my head no. It's not like the guy was going to hit me. It was only a moment of panic. Noah patted my shoulder. That's good. Why don't you go ahead and get in the cage before he gets back? It looks like he's with some friends and they all look pretty serious. I didn't waste any time and got in the 85 miles per hour cage. No need to look for a confrontation with the guy and his buddies. I slid my second to last token in and immediately set up in the righty's box. The balls came quick and I got off to a slow start, only fouling off the first 3, but then started to connect with the rest. The hitting was a good stress relief. I turned to put in my last token, but stopped at the site outside of the cage. Noah was there smiling at me like a goof, which was normal. But the 4 guys behind him, staring me down, was anything but normal. I clenched the bat, freezing up again. Noah was oblivious to what was behind him. He just kept up with the nonsensical chatter which I couldn't hear too clearly over the sound of bats connecting with baseballs from the other cages. Are you done? The guy I ran into before suddenly spoke, making Noah jump. He turned around, and had to look up at the guy and his friends. Can I help you? The guy's friend on the end, with a nearly bald head, crossed his arms in front of his chest, making his arms look like they belong on a weightlifter. Your friend is holding up the cage. Is he just going to stand there all day, or will he let others have a go? Noah glanced back at me as I stood still as a statue. Jake? Do you want a break or something? Or something is right. I nodded. I wanted these big guys to stop staring me down. It's intimidating. I forced my feet to move and I slipped out of the cage, keeping my distance from the big four as best as I could. Noah gave them a wave as if presenting the cage. Sorry for the holdup. He left them and joined me where I stood a few yards away. You okay, Jake? You're acting funny. He thought for a second. Well, even more unusual than usual. I looked down at my running shoes that were brand new from yesterday's shopping spree. Intimidating. I mumbled. Wow. 5 syllables. I'm impressed. I looked up to glare at him. He just laughed and patted my shoulder. Don't worry. They won't hit you. They can't really. The old man would kick them out indefinitely, and then where would they go? I gave it some thought. It sounded true. Normal people wouldn't just go around hitting others. I took a deep breath and let some tension out. Just look at them. Noah pointed to the cage with a smirk. You would totally own them in there. And they're even older than us. That really says a lot about you. Noah's voice carried his comments to 3 of the 4 guys. 2 of them looked at one another, communicating without words. The third turned all the way to stare us down. I flinched, and tried to shift my body behind Noah, but he wasn't having it. He threw an arm around my shoulders, keeping me at his side. Look past them and into the cage. Mr. Tall and Buff has already missed 2, fouled 3, and hit 3. Okay, 4 fouls now. I cringed at his narrating, not even daring to look. I kept my eyes on my shoes, praying Noah would lose interest and we could move on. Foul. 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 Noah told me about the rest of his pitches. Wow. Lame. 7 fouls. 3 hits. And 2 misses. He's not even close to your level. I wish I could be invisible. Why isn't this over yet? The guy has already finished his token, so we should definitely leave now. You got something to say, Brad? A pair of shoes came into my line of sight and I feel 10 seconds away from fainting in fright. Noah basically summoned a demon before us. I glanced up and it was the bald guy. Great. The scariest looking one. I nudged Noah, trying to move us away from this potential fight. But Noah stayed firm. In fact, he merely scoffed at the baldy. What's there to say? I was just telling my friend what was happening in the cage since he couldn't see clearly. I didn't dare to look up at the baldy. Brad. You trying to say you can do better? Nope. Not at all. But my friend can. In fact, he could do it left-handed. Oh God. If you exist, please make me disappear. What the fuck? You think this brat can do better? We play varsity for our high school, not some pickup ball in the park. The bald guy didn't sound happy at all. I'm surprised he didn't just start throwing a punch at Noah's smug face. Yep. So what? We do too. Noah pulled me closer. We what? No, no, no. I shook my head, trying to claim innocence. I've never played on a team before, let alone played in a game. Noah glanced at me. No need to hide it, Jake. We got this. Got what? I don't understand this kid at all. He can obviously see my discomfort, but he keeps trying to pick a fight. Oh? Want to make a wager then? The guy was smirking like we were easy prey. Sure. I hope you are good sports after eating a loss. Noah had no intentions to back down. I kept shaking my head so much, I started to feel dizzy. Seems like your friend is wimping out to me. He laughed. Noah gave my shoulder a squeeze. He just doesn't like taking on bets since people will think that we're hustling them. My jaw dropped. Damn. This kid. No problem here. Just sounds like boasting me. $10 on who can connect on more pitches. The guy proposed. 50. Noah countered. A kid like you has 50 on him? He asked, doubtful. Noah shrugged. Nope, not on me. But, I have that much faith in my buddy here. Who exactly is your buddy? You bet what you have. There's no credit on a gamble. he stated firmly through clenched teeth. Noah took his arm off me and slung his bag in front of him. He started to pull out what money he could. A few dollars here and there. I've got 12. The guy whipped out a leather wallet and pulled out the same amount. Deal. Let's go. Your friend versus mine. He abruptly turned and went back to his group. I frowned at Noah as he put his backpack back on. Noah just grinned. This is great. Easy money. He's basically throwing it at us. I shook my head. Sounds more like the guy wants to take revenge on Noah for his trash talking. We should just go. I mumbled. It's too late to back out now. I don't want to just hand over my last $12 without even trying. Come on, just this once. We'll leave right after so we can avoid them. Please see. I rolled my eyes at his pleading. Fine. Noah laughed, cheerfully, and started to drag me to the four guys. I knew I could count on you, Jake. You've already proven you could do 85 miles per hour, so it'll be easy going. Easy. The bald one scoffed. I didn't say we would do the 85. We should obviously do the most challenging at 100. My friend, Tyler, will be going for us. He's our cleanup hitter, so it's only natural that he would represent our school. He nodded towards a slender but lean man on his left. He had short brown hair and sharp cheekbones. I looked at Noah, worried. 100 miles per hour? I've never consecutively hit that. Ever. Noah's face twitched, fighting off a scowl. We never agreed to 100 miles per hour. We came from the 85 cage and you guys are standing in front of said cage. It's only reasonable we stick to where we're at. I nodded. Finally, this kid is talking sense. I didn't do the 85 cage. Tyler smirked. Why should we do the speed your friend is already accustomed to? We only agreed to whoever makes the most contact. Baldy followed up. You're the one talking smack, so I pick the speed. Noah looked at me, unsure. That makes the two of us. I had no idea how good this guy was and I wasn't sure if I'd be any better. Oh. And your friend has to do it left-handed, of course. Baldly added. You specifically said he would. My eyes widened as I tilted my head at Noah. Why is this getting worse? I'm not completely ambidextrous. I always like to try to go righty first in order to get comfortable first. Noah gave me a weak smile. Yes. Left-handed. It's all the same for Jackie here. The guys laughed, but not like it was funny. More like it was amusing that Noah could talk so much smack. Which was impressive, especially he's bragging for me and not even for himself. I'll even go first. Tyler put a helmet on and walked over to the 100 miles per hour cage. He went right on in since there wasn't a line. The rest of us followed to stand just outside the cage in order to watch. Noah stood next to the three and I stayed on the other side of him, still wary of the strangers. Stop looking so nervous. This guy doesn't even look any better than the one we saw in the 85 cage. Noah nudged me. I'm a pitcher. A voice said from the other side of Noah. Noah grinned at me sheepishly. Semantics. They're from the same team. Can they really be so different? A loud clank came from the cage. I looked just in time to see the ball hit the netting beyond the machine. That's one. The Baldy stated. Tyler had already put the token in and started on his 12 pitches. He was in the righty's box, looking lean and mean. Hit. 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 Miss foul. Hit. Hit. Foul. Foul. Hit. Foul. The Baldy called out every swing. Tyler's swing was nice and solid, with almost no holes or faults. Definitely not a normal high school player. He turned to us. That's 11 out of 12. You mean 7? Noah's eyes narrowed. There was definitely only 7 hits. The Baldy grinned down at us. We agreed on connections. In order to foul tip, the bat has to connect with the ball. That's some BS. You're basically taking advantage of us. Don't you have any shame facing a couple of freshmen? Noah finally started to show the worry and tension I've been feeling since the beginning. Don't talk shit, if you can't back it up. The Baldy's smile looked evil, perfect for a villainous upperclassman. But Noah tried to continue his complaints, but I nudged him. He turned to me raising an eyebrow. You have no objections now? No. I whispered. If fouls can count as connections, then that's no problem at all. Foul tipping is easy. I practiced that all the time. Especially when I got bored of hitting the same speed over and over. Noah studied my face, looking for a trace of assurance. He nodded once to himself. Then patted my helmet. Good. Good. I knew I could count on you. Go win us some money so we can play some more. I nodded back. I stepped into the empty cage and took a look on the outside. The four were taller, older, and no doubt probably better at baseball. But the batting cages aren't baseball. Not real baseball anyways. It's just me, my bat, and the machine. Nothing else is needed. No reliance on other players. No wide variety of pitches. No change-ups headed my way. I put my last token in and stepped into the lefty's box, feeling a faint smile growing on my lips. I felt relaxed in the box. The machine spat out a baseball very quickly, but my hands moved just as fast. I fouled the ball back. Not super great, but good enough to pass. The next pitch came as soon as I got back into my setup. I swung and fouled it back again. My swing is a little late, but that's okay as long as I keep connecting. The great thing about pitching machines is their lack of variation. Once you're at a set speed, you know what to expect, and it's all about getting into a rhythm and staying relaxed. No surprises. The balls kept coming and I kept fouling them back. I could adjust my swing and try for a few more hits, but there's no sense in risking it. Tyler only had one miss, so it'll be better if I just foul all 12 back and get the win. I kept up the even pace. Set, swing, fouled back. I could hear Noah cheering from behind. He probably understood that I would choose to just foul all 12 back. Easy win. That's what I'm talking about. He yelled after I fouled pitch number 12 back. Left-handed, 12 for 12. We have a winner. I rolled my eyes at his bragging, and slowly made my way out of the cage. My arms felt like jelly and the bat felt like it gained weight. 100 miles per hour is no joke. I took the helmet off, and wiped off the sweat from my face as I stood next to Noah. Noah was looking up at the four guys, arms crossed, smirking. Well? Hand over the $12. A loser is a loser. The baldy frowned. Tyler has more hits. All your friend did was foul it back. Who was the one that said it's all about making a connection? Noah shot back. You made the rules, not me. Don't tell me you want to back out after losing to a shrimp like Jake. Rude. I nudged Noah, making sure he could see my frown. I just won him some money and now he's putting me down? He should be praising his savior, me. Noah was too focused on getting his money. He stood straight, hand out, waiting to be paid. Baldy grumbled, but nonetheless smacked the money into Noah's hand. Double or nothing. He declared once the money was handed over. I shook my head no, yet Noah lived in his own world and nodded. This time he gets to bat right-handed. Most hits this time though. Baldy demanded. I kept shaking my head and stepping back. Noah paid no mind, just held me in place with his arm around my shoulders. He whispered to me, I'm doing this for you. I looked at him, skeptical. The bat in your hands is $60. Skim them 2 more times and we'll have plenty. We can buy the bat outright and even have money left over to play some more video games. Noah's plan had merits and sounded appealing. But I glanced at the cage. I don't know if I could win if it's based on hits and not contact. Noah seemed to understand my worry. Look, it's a gamble. I get that. You win, we get you a bat and we play some more. You lose, I'll just call my mom to get us and then maybe we can convince her to get you the bat. You did have money left over from yesterday's shopping trip. I really didn't want to ask Mrs. Atkins for money. She wasn't my mom. And even if she was, that would be more of a reason not to ask. I guess I made my decision. It won't hurt to try again, especially since I'll get a chance to go in the righty's box. I gave Noah the go-ahead nod. He looked back at the guys. We're in. Double or nothing. Whoever gets most hits win. Jake gets to bat right-handed. As winners, we choose to still go second. He raised an eyebrow. Unless you've got a problem and need the kid to go first. The baldy sneered. Yeah, right. In case you missed it, Tyler had more hits. Your friend couldn't do nothing but foul. You're in over your head, brat. He looked at Tyler. Show them how it's done. Just getting the same amount of hits again will do it. Tyler put his helmet back on and got back in the cage, swaggering with a bigger attitude than a loser should have. He slid his token in and got ready. Foul. Foul. Hit. 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 Foul. Hit. 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 Baldy called out the result of every pitch. Every time he called out hit, I felt my heart grow heavier. He went from 7 hits to 9. No misses. I feel slightly hustled. This guy is obviously a star on whatever team he's on. Why do they feel the need to challenge us? Just because of Noah's smack talk? Weird. 9 out of 12 isn't bad. Noah commented as Tyler walked out of the cage. Too bad, Jake can do better. He handed me a token. Here. You ran out, right? You can easily hit more than him. I started to sweat. Where does Noah get this sky-high confidence from? He's not even the one going in the cage. Stop stalling. Baldy glared at us. I swallowed down my anxiety and forced my legs to move. This is definitely the most nervous I've felt in a batting cage ever. Worst case scenario isn't the end of the world, Jake. Stop looking like you're going to your own funeral. Noah said. Noah is right. I took a deep breath and let it out slowly, releasing my tension. Worst case scenario is just going home. I can always tell Noah that I don't want the bat so Mrs. Atkins doesn't have to buy it. There's a lot of ways to save up money to buy it myself. I put in the token Noah gave me and got into the righty's box. I should just use this opportunity to see what I can do now that I can adjust my swing and try for hits. The first pitch arrived in the time it took to blink. I swung my bat, keeping a good grip. Foul. Okay, not bad. I got set again for the next pitch. I just need to lower my shoulder to get the appropriate angle to hit the ball. The pitch came and I sent it back the way it came. Hit. Good. What a relief. I tried to keep the same stance and motions. Hit. 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 After the 8 hit on the 9th pitch, I heard an unusual sound. It was hard to describe. It sounded like someone punching a wall. Like when the plaster gives. I was swinging at the next pitch when I finally figured it out. It was my bat. Crack. Pieces of my bat flew with the ball, and the rest split apart in my hands. I quickly stepped out of the batter's box and let the rest of the pitches go by, before picking up what pieces I could. Then I slowly left the cage and immediately looked at Noah with disbelief all over his face. I'm sure I mirrored what he was feeling. I never broke a bat before. I've never even seen a broken bat before. Oh crap. You lost. Baldy and friends smirked and laughed. We'll be taking that. He snatched the money clutched in Noah's hand, then the 4 of them turned and disappeared back into the arcade area. I held the pieces of my bat, facing Noah, scared he might yell at me. Noah frowned at the retreating 4. Damn. We would have won. Those cheapskates. He sighed, looking at me. This isn't good. I gulped. Let go see what the owner has to say. Remember, it's always best to be on the offense. Just follow my lead. He held his head high and led the way back to the arcade. I closely followed, feeling depressed. We marched back into the shop and rental area. Noah didn't hesitate and walked right up to the counter and flat out told the lady, I would like to lodge a complaint. You guys let us borrow faulty equipment. The lady's eyebrows shot up as she peered down at us. What did you break? We didn't break anything. Noah refuted. That so-called superior bat that you loaned us for $10, fell apart in my friend's hand as he was batting. He's lucky it didn't cut him up or anything. I'm sorry to say, I'm going to need my $10 back. My jaw dropped, stunned at his approach. Is this what he meant by being on the offense? Instead of us paying them back for breaking their bat, he's going to demand that they pay him. Noah really has no shame. I set the broken pieces on the counter and quickly took a step back, making sure I was standing slightly behind Noah. The lady frowned at the pieces of wood. Where's the rest? In the cage. It burst apart everywhere, so we picked up what we could. Did it burst apart or fell apart? The old man walked around the counter to stand beside the lady. He was the supposed boss who may have been a pro. He squinted at Noah. Well? Which is it? Noah swallowed hard, not looking as confident as before. Both. It fell apart as my friend was using it in the cage, and when it connected with the ball, the pieces blew everywhere. The old man thought for a moment, leaving us in suspense. I seem to recall my employee telling you boys that a wooden bat would be easier to break in the cages. He raised an eyebrow. Which cage did it break in? Noah twitched. The 100 miles per hour cage, but you can't tell me that my friend could use enough force to break the bat. It was obviously cracked or faulty. The old man looked at me in surprise. So this young man can hit a 100 miles per hour fastball? Impressive. Thank you. Noah answered on my behalf. Now, about my money? Also, isn't it only right that we get the token back too? The bat broke halfway through the 12 pitches, so that's a waste of a token. I was amazed at Noah's demeanor. He wasn't even going to let a token go. The old man gave a light chuckle, but surprisingly, he pulled out a token and placed it on the counter. Here's the refund. And my $10? Noah asked. I also remember telling you, you break it, you buy it, . The old man held out his hand. So instead of returning your $10, I'll be asking for $50 from you to cover the cost of the bat. Noah turned his back to the adults and faced me, mouthing one phrase, easy to understand. Oh shit. Oh shit seemed to be the theme of the afternoon. After the old man found out that we didn't even have any money on us, he called MRS. Atkins. Apparently, the twins had broken something a few years before and they exchanged numbers in case something happened again. Unfortunately, it was me who broke the bat. I started to feel anxious and sick to my stomach. Just thinking about Noah's mom getting mom was stressing me out. Will she act like my mom? Will she just ignore me since I'm not her kid? I definitely prefer option number 2. We were sitting in the old man's office, waiting for her arrival. We both sat on a worn couch opposite of the old man, who sat behind a desk filled with clutter. Noah was giving him a rundown on everything that happened between us and the 4 older teens. He had a talent for spinning stories to make us look like the ones picked on. They just couldn't stand seeing a kid better than them. He finished. The old man peered at me. So you're better than them? I shook my head no, but Noah answered for me. He's way better. He's like a machine. Same perfect swing over and over. The old man looked at the bat pieces in my hands. Can't be that perfect of a swing if the bat broke. He looked me in the eyes. Did the ball hit close to your hands, causing the bat to break along the handle? I shook my head no. I always try to hit baseballs with the sweet part of the bat where the barrel is thickest. Jake isn't a newbie. He knows what part of the bat to hit with. My theory is that there was a crack, and with his perfect hitting, the balls hit the same spot over and over, until bam. Bat explosion. Noah always had answers, especially when he can still put the blame on someone or something else. The old man looked at us, amused. No doubt he was able to see through Noah's explanation. A knock on the door interrupted us. A tall woman walked in. Mrs. Atkins. She greeted the old man before turning to us. She was still in a business suit, looking more intimidating than yesterday. You guys broke a rental bat. I felt extremely guilty as I held what was left of the bat. Technically. Noah cringed. But I'm standing my ground that it was cracked beforehand. Mrs. Atkins remained expressionless as she turned back to the old man. I'll defer judgment to Mr. Williams. He's the boss, so he would know best. Yeah, best how to scam us out of our money. Noah rebuked. Noah James. Mrs. Atkins scolded. I taught you to respect your elders regardless of personal conflicts. You're setting a bad example for Jake. You should take note how he sits quietly and doesn't inject snide comments. Noah jumped up. Yeah, because he's terrified. Look how frozen he is. These 4 guys bullied us, took my money when the bat broke, then ran off. Now we have a bunch of adults telling us that we're the ones in the wrong and that we're in trouble. Where's the justice? Mrs. Atkins' expression softened at the sight of my stiff posture. Is that true, Jake? I didn't answer and just kept my eyes down on the bat pieces. I was shocked again how Noah can change black to white and vice versa. It's a real skill. To not always be right, but at least never wrong. He told the truth, but not the whole truth. I heard Mrs. Atkins sigh. Even if you boys aren't totally in the wrong, we should still pay for the bat. Tell you what, if you guys pay for the broken bat, I'll give you a discount on a new one. Mr. Williams spoke up. I lifted my head, filled with hope. I really like batting with a wooden bat. Even though it felt heavier and different, it was something new. Mrs. Atkins saw my excitement. Okay, deal. Then she looked at Noah. But we're still having a talk with your father when we get home. Just because you're right doesn't mean you're not in the wrong. Damn. It was like she could see right through her son. I looked at Noah, nervous that he might get upset since he looks to be in trouble, but I'm not. He rolled his eyes. Don't pity me. Mom's just mad that I was rude and outspoken. She just might ground me. Or no cookies for a straight week. She countered. No. Mom. Noah pleaded. You know I didn't mean it. It won't happen again. She looked skeptical. We'll discuss punishment at home. I shivered at the word. First, let's get the appropriate bat. I feel like we should wait until your father gets back. He's more knowledgeable when it comes to this. Jake wants the same one as this. Noah looked towards me for confirmation and I nodded along eagerly. He was excellent with this bat. 12 for 12 up to the 85 miles per hour cage. And then he fouled all 12 100 miles per hour pitches and put those guys in their place. But then they wanted to count only hits, yet he could still hit some. He was amazing, Mom. Oh. Mrs. Atkins tried making eye contact with me, but I looked away shyly. Noah was just bragging, I'm only good in the cages. Well, how much is a brand new version of this bat? She looked at Mr. Williams. He thought for a minute. With the discount, I can sell you one for $120. Plus the $50 you owe, it'll be $170. Is that fair? She glanced at Noah. That's usually on par with your aluminum bats, right? He nodded. Okay, but Jake, you'll have to take care of this bat. We can't afford any spares at the moment. I nodded. I would agree to any conditions to get this bat. A new one is even better. This is your first wooden bat, right? Mr. Williams asked me. I nodded. His lips twitched. It's a bit harder to take care of compared to an aluminum bat. Will you remember how to look up how to take care of it when you get home? No worries. I'll look it up and print it out for him. Noah interceded on my behalf. Very well then. We won't be held responsible after the sale is finalized. Mr. Williams stayed clearly. He looked at the pieces I was holding and raised an eyebrow. You gonna toss that? Or just keep holding it? I looked at it sadly. This was my first bat since my hospital visit. It didn't last long, but it gave me hope. I didn't really want to part with it. Do you have a box we can put the pieces in? Mrs. Atkins suddenly asked. Technically we did purchase it, so we might as well take it home as a souvenir or something. She winked at me. Right, Jake. I nodded, enthusiastically. That's exactly what I want. Mr. Williams chuckled, but didn't comment on my peculiarities. Well, let's get you the new bat too and send you boys on your way. He stood up and led the way out of the office. I looked at Noah, grateful to meet a friend like him. He looked at my face and laughed. Don't look at me like that. This isn't anything special. Just another day with the Atkins family. Then he lowered his voice. But if I do lose my cookie privileges, you must share with me. I nodded quickly. I owe Noah more than just cookies. I stared at the papers before me, dumbfounded. I squinted at all the tiny words all over the place, then looked up at Noah, confused at where to begin. We were sitting in his room back at the house. His mom made the purchases and brought us back, telling us to start looking up wooden bats. What we found was shocking. We really underestimated the task. Noah used his computer and printer at the desk in his room to print all applicable information. He was looking at the information at hand before decisively pointing at one article. We'll start here. This will be rule number 1 of taking care of a wooden bat. Store your bat handle up. That's simple enough. He looked at the bat in my hands, then looked around the room. We've got to make sure it stays in an upright position and out of the way so it doesn't get kicked or knocked around. He got up and took the bat away from me and placed it properly between the desk and bed. There. That's also a cool place away from humidity. He sat back down. I looked at my bat, a little sad that I couldn't hold it all the time. Next. Noah read aloud. Keep your bat clean with alcohol. Alcohol will keep dirt and dust off to ensure a great grip. Okay, we'll have to ask Dad for that when he gets home for dinner. I nodded even though I didn't understand what kind of alcohol is used on bats. Keep your bat dent-free by using a piece of bone, or another wooden practice bat to rub out any misshapen sides. He glanced at the shoebox next to me. It held my first broken bat. I scooted closer to it as if to guard it. I don't want to use it as a sharpening tool. It's worth a lot to me. Okay. We'll ask Dad about that one too then. Noah rolled his eyes. The rest is all about storing your bat properly and out of damp places and away from extreme temperatures. Nothing too hard. I opened my shoebox to examine my broken bat. I was glad Mrs. Atkins understood that I didn't want to get rid of it. She's definitely not anything like my mom so far, but that makes me even more upset. Why didn't I get a mom like her? You look like your dog died. Noah laughed. It's just a bat. Go put the box on the dresser if you want. I got up and placed the box on the dresser next to a few of his trophies and awards. Noah wouldn't understand that this bat felt like my lifeline to baseball. God only knows if I'll be able to hold a metal bat ever again. So we're going to need alcohol and something for when your bat dents. Noah said thoughtfully. We also need to get you a bag to hold it. But it can't get humid in there. Plus it has to be big enough for your glove. And we need to get you a helmet of your own. And maybe batting gloves. His eyes sparkled. I'll talk Dad into taking us to O'Connor's. It's a huge sports store that will set you up. I looked away uncomfortably. What is it? Noah got closer to me. I scrunched up my nose and shifted from foot to foot. I've never actually played before, no. It was hard to squeeze out such a long sentence. I felt winded and dizzy at my admittance, afraid Noah will get upset. Play. Noah's eyebrows pulled together. Play what? His eyes widened with realization. Wait. You've never played baseball before. Noah was stunned. But you have a glove. And you bat so well. Any team would die to have you in their lineup. How are we going to get you on the varsity team with me? Have you practiced fielding and throwing at all? Do you know positions? I just shrugged in response. He was asking so many questions, I didn't know where to start. He frowned. Let's start with hitting. You can obviously do that. Have you ever hit off a pitcher? A real pitcher? I shook my head no. At my middle school I was only allowed to use the batting cage. Okay. Moving on to throwing. Can you throw a baseball? I rolled my eyes. Of course I threw the ball around with friends at school. Just checking. Geez, so much attitude. How about fielding? I looked away. Really, Jake? What's with that response? Noah grabbed my face and forced me to look at him. What do you know about fielding? Throw to first. I mumbled. Noah's hands fell, oh Lord. So you don't know anything about positioning. I know where each position is. Have you never seen a game? Or participated in a scrimmage? Damn, did you even have a childhood? I flinched and my eyes started to sting. I moved away from Noah and his hurtful words. There wasn't anywhere I could go, so I climbed the bunk bed and got under the covers. I hid all the way under as I start to cry silently. Jake? Jake. Noah shook my bed. Are you sick? Should I go get Mom? Hold on. I had him run out of the room. I didn't want his mom. Or mine. Or any mom for that matter. I just wanted to be alone. Noah. Noah ran downstairs to fetch his mom. He had never seen someone cry so suddenly without something being wrong. Mom. Where are you? I need you. Dining room. She answered. Noah ran through the living room, past the office, and arrived in the dining room. Surprisingly, the man that brought Jake was there with her. I think something's wrong with Jake, Mom. He started crying and is hiding under the covers now. Oh? What happened before that? She asked. We were talking about baseball. That's it. The man sighed. I'm shocked that he even would talk to you at all. Let alone about baseball. Have a seat, Noah. Let's talk about Jake for a minute. Noah looked at him suspiciously, but with a quick glare from his mom, he sat down. "What's there to talk about? You know that your parents take in a foster kid every now and then, right?" the man asked. "Jake is a ward of the state. He was removed from his mom's custody for abuse." Noah looked concerned. "His mom hit him?" The man nodded. "Among other things, yes." Noah looked nervous and guilty. "I probably made him cry then. I asked if he even had a childhood right before he started to cry. But it was a joke 'cause he didn't know anything about baseball." The man gave him a tight smile. Jake's mom didn't let him play baseball. It was taboo. So he's probably having conflicting thoughts and feelings about playing and being around others who play. "What should we do then?" Noah asked worriedly. "All we can do is be here for him. Be supportive." His mom smiled gently. "Let him cry it out for a few minutes before your brothers come home. Then we can all have dinner together. Jake just needs time to adjust. I'm worried about you and your husband the most. Jake has no experience with real parenting, so he might be hard to handle at times." the man said. "Ridiculous." She brushed it off. "It's because he has no knowledge that he's so well behaved. I'd be more comfortable if he went wild like my other boys. We'll play everything by ear for now." This episode ends here. See you in the next video.